Hialeah, no doubt. East 10th Street, but we put out. Here we bring the Miami crowd. Alex, the boy with the D. Step into rhythm, feel the heat. Street vibes mixing with the Latin tree. In our flow, the two worlds meet. East 10th Street boys, bring the party. Bring the noise from Hialeah with some joy.
Drink water like that. Well, I'm telling you, bro. I'm focused, bro. I'm focused, man. Yeah, inside out.
You don't know who I am by now.
Identify as.
You know, hey. When Alex takes a shower, the dude goes for 3 hours. I mean, it's like, you know he's going to be gone for a while. You have time. Do whatever you're going to do. Go grocery shopping. Go eat dinner.
Latin spice and neon lights.
You know, hello everybody and welcome to another edition of East 10th Street Boys straight out of Hialeah. Alex is taking this whole Cuban late thing way too seriously. I am waiting on him still. He should be in shortly. But I'm like, I'm not going to wait that long. So why not just hop on in here and get us started? Appreciate everyone who is tuning in right now, wherever you're watching from. Whether that's on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. We appreciate you all watching. Hit that like and subscribe button. If you're anywhere other than YouTube, hop on over and just let Alex know how disorganized and unprofessional he really is. I mean, my goodness. He does one show a week. One show a week. Be on time. Be on Cuban time. That's like 5 minutes, bro. That's like 5 minutes. So I'm going to give him a lot of grief when he comes in here. Supposedly he's having some father-son moment there playing with his kid and all that. So, you know, just taking his sweet old time. But a lot to talk about. So I got plenty of, things to discuss. First off, as Miami Dolphins inch closer and closer to the NFL draft, you know, it's not short of drama for Miami. We know with the whole situation with Jalen Ramsey, Chris Greer having a press conference, confirming that Miami and Jalen Ramsey have agreed to part ways. The Dolphins will start to seek a trade partner immediately, or they've already had discussions with teams. We don't know how that's going to look, what Miami could get in return. My thought process is that more than likely they are going to go, they may get a third rounder, hopefully, because that's what they gave up, right? They gave up a third rounder in Hunter Long. So that's possibly what they could get. And I hope that, that would be the, I guess, best case scenario for the Dolphins. And then you go into what they're going to do. How does that impact the NFL draft? Well, I'll say this, as far as I'm concerned, the way it looked to me, I think the best route for Miami to go right now, based off who might go in the top 12 corner, whether that is a Will Johnson out of Michigan, or possibly a Jahdae Barnes from Texas, who I'm a big fan of. I want to give a shout out to George and the Fins Faithful podcast with Jason Sarney. They just had a great show. They had Justin ML on, who knows his stuff. They were on there. They were talking about Barron and why they may not be comfortable with him at 13. I am, however. I think he's a very good player, and I think he'll be a damn good pro when he gets into the NFL. Let me give this here. Hold on one moment. I'm live. Maybe that might race him to the computer as, showtime, bro. But, Jalen Ramsey now on the way out, it looks like, for Miami, and Dolphins now have to, where corner just not, last year wasn't really a thought that was a major need, has become, look who's decided to show up.
I'm so sorry, man.
That's not Cuban time, bro. That's not Cuban time.
I legit 9:10. I'm like, oh, perfect. I'm on time.
My goodness.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, brother. My bad.
You're all right, my man. It's it's just better late than never, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you said you were playing a game with your son, my man. What were you playing?
Yeah, man. We're playing basketball. We're playing outside, and it got a little cut up. It got a little heated.
Yeah.
He's a little older. He's a little taller. He's a little stronger, so he wants to bang around with his old dad.
Oh, all right.
And it was good. It was good. I was impressed.
No, I did mine's an hour earlier, so I had time to relax a little bit.
I got you.
I saw the time, so let me be prepared.
Responsible.
You know what I mean?
Let me be responsible.
Responsibilities.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean,
sorry.
Just saying. But I did win.
One of us
20
has
to
to be
2. I
responsible.
won. Yeah,
20 to 2. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. He was like, "Let's play." I was like, "All right, I guess." I put my shoes on and you know, I started, when I take him to that basketball camp, it's a huge
Yeah.
basketball court,
Okay.
at the place. And I have an opportunity to practice my shots. And I was hitting all these threes. I was like, holy crap, Tyler Hero much? So I beat him bad with like 4 threes yesterday. And then I just beat him right now. But, and then I blocked him really hard. And he said, you hit my wrist. I said, I never hit your wrist.
Yeah.
I hit the ball. It went like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Already gets on the floor. He's like, oh, it's like, all right, what did we learn? What did we learn? But just getting started here, Alex. We're just talking about what's going on with the Dolphins as we are a week away now from the NFL draft. Now what position seemed like a strength not too long ago, last season, the season before, in corner, looks like to be the biggest weakness for the Dolphins. I was just saying, even before this move went down, it was being dramatic. He won a nice pack, whatever. But he's all right. He's brave. Anyway, as it went down, before that went down, I said Miami more than likely I thought would go corner as BPA, because what could possibly go down before the 12 picks? And of course, Miami's in good position to get a quality corner at 13 or 16, because I'm working on my mock draft for OTC, and getting a really good corner to come in, plug and play. And the one corner is, of course, Will Johnson out of Michigan. He has the size, he has the superstar ability, he has the experience. He does have some injury history. We know how much Greer loves that, but he is a legitimate superstar player that comes in and could play for you right away. Another guy that I really like, that I'm hearing I see a lot of love for him, but in Miami fan circles, I see a lot of pushback on that idea, is Jahdae Barron out of Texas. I absolutely love this kid. I am a huge fan of this kid. He's my second ranked corner after Travis Hunter. I think at 13 or 16, this would be a quality pick. I know, I was just giving a shout out to George and Jason Sarney of the Fins Faithful podcast. They just had a great show with Justin ML. I forgot where he comes, what site he represents, but he's awesome. He knows his stuff. But they were talking about some pushback, and they were, they want a guy who's the same similar size as a Jalen Ramsey. I would just like to remind everybody that, and based off what Chris Greer said, that the Dolphins did draft Cam Smith. Now, Cam Smith has shown nothing for anyone to believe in him. He hasn't shown anything yet, whether that's, the Vic Fangio thing a year ago, 2 seasons ago, last year was absentee. We don't know what's up there. And then Chris Greer, of course, calling him out in the press conference doesn't give you a lot of positive feelings about Cam Smith possibly starting, but he also said he has to step up. He has to step up. So when you're talking about a guy if you're looking for a guy the same size as a Jalen Ramsey, 6'1", whatever, that's Cam Smith. You're not going to draft a guy for Cam Smith to be corner 3, corner whatever. You're drafted a guy to be side by side with him. So whether that is a Will Johnson or Jahdae Barron is a great player, and you could still go corner later on. I think there's plenty of good corners later in the draft that could help keep that room stacked up. But before we get into any of that, Alex, we haven't heard from you in regard to the Jalen Ramsey situation and your thought process when you found that out, and if you got a chance to listen to anything of Chris Greer. What was your thoughts on the agreement to trade him now, and then Chris Greer's comments following that decision?
What I took from it, and I didn't hear the full press conference, but what I took from it, the one part is the fact that he did not demand a trade, but it was kind of something mutual. It could be painted that way, or it could be the realization where he's an older player. He's already in his 30s, 31 to 32. I don't remember exactly. So either it's a youth movement, or you're starting to rebuild kind of like a refurbishing of the team, or he wants to go to a more competitive situation because he feels that his window is closing himself. It caught me a little bit by surprise. I think it's physically responsible. It's financially responsible. Why? Because he's one of the highest paid players. In order, if you want to take the cap in now, and now you're starting to take into account Tua's contract next year, other possible extensions. Now, the situation comes down to this. When the moment it happened, it's better. You're better situated to draft corner if you have a corner already in place, because teams are not going to realize, or teams are not going to envision that being a necessity for you. You're literally going best player available. Now, what I come into play is now people see that we have a glaring hole. Which team is going to jump a pick before us in the case they want Will Johnson? And like you said, I don't mind the kid from Texas. Is Barron? That's his last name?
Yes.
I know he's 5'10", 5'11". Look, man, we grew up with Pat Surtain, Terrell Buckley. Like, we understand that size, obviously, for a corner, the bigger they are, obviously, the better, more physical they could be. But elite athleticism, elite footwork, elite handwork, it doesn't come in size. That's all in the person. So, you know what? I still wouldn't even doubt if Miami doesn't go cornerback. Like you mentioned, first round. They still might go BPA, and it all depends on who falls. This draft legit, for the most part. Obviously, I understand with the quarterback situation, but there's many positions that are strength that it's legit. How you said over and over and over is how the draft falls, because all it takes is one domino to be pulled away, and all of a sudden it shifts every team's perspective. So. Was I a little surprised by Jalen Ramsey? Yes. The fact that I'm waiting for the Tyreek Hill situation. I want to see how they resolve that, because I know he said it jokingly. If anybody wants to call me and offer me 2 first-round picks, I did see that clip. I know it's a joke, but there's always truth behind a joke. So I'm pretty sure now there's going to be a few GMs that are going to be like, I know he was joking, but what would it take to acquire Tyreek Hill?
He said that, in my opinion, he said that because he doesn't. I don't think he really expects anybody to give him what he thinks.
Of course,
is really, because
of course.
The fact is, even if Tyreek was no issues, 2 first-round picks is very rich for an older receiver.
Yeah,
but realistically, you gave Tyreek an extension when you didn't need to, so trading him is a huge cap hit, and teams know. Not just the off the field issues, but they know that he has expressed that he doesn't want to be there, that he quit on the team in the final game of the season. They know all that. So that's like, Alex, you talk about it all the time. Miami really does not have that leverage that you would want in that type of situation.
No.
You could go to a team and say, hey, man, you want Tyreek Hill? You need to give me 2 first rounders. Dude, I don't need to give you 2 first. I just have to wait you out. Because eventually he's going to become so much of a problem that I could give you a 3rd rounder, and that's best case scenario in my position. If a team tells you, "Hey man, I'll give you a 3rd round," or "Hey, look, I'll give you a 4th round," that's a conditional 3rd rounder. That if he actually plays this number of games or has this type of statistics, I'll give you a 3rd rounder. Like, to me, that's best case scenario right now. But you have to be willing to eat the cap hit if you do it.
Yeah, for sure.
And that might have been the situation with Jalen Ramsey. I don't know. When he says, and I have the whole
you have the whole presser?
I have it right here.
Okay.
It's see-through right now because it's
highlighted.
Because
awesome.
I highlighted,
That's
I'm
crazy.
reading and I'm highlighting things that stick out to me. When for me, I started thinking about, because he says he emphasized he never asked for a rework contract. He never demanded for a trade. This was a mutual discussion, mutual decision. So to me, I start going, okay, what's up, Cap? Good evening, sir. Great to see you. To me, I look at that and I go, is it where he looked at the team and did he, as a star player of this team, and maybe the most consistent star player and the veteran leader of this team, because Calais leaves, Teron Armstead, he goes,
correct.
First off, what's the plan? What's going on with Tyreek Hill? I'm sure obviously he loves playing with Tyreek. If Tyreek could be whatever, but I'm just saying this is what I'm thinking. Did he go to Miami? Go, what's the deal? Like, we lost Armstead, we lost Calais. Tyreek's having issues. What's the situation at quarterback?
Youth movement,
what are we doing? And if they go, hey man, there's not much really we can do. This is I know, we're not really know what the plan is. Maybe that's good. And he may have said, we need to do something. I'd love to know a plan before. And they just said, you know what? Maybe it's just best you're not here. And that's when he's like, okay, maybe it is best. He never asked for it. I think that's where it was. It's kind of like
it came up in conversation.
That they had a conversation about what was going on, and they just rolled out that way.
And it threw me off because the defense actually could improve a lot this coming year. And the fact that Anthony Weaver's still there, and they seem to have a very good relationship. He loves playing for Anthony Weaver. So unless something is coming up towards the draft where it's a better situation for him, like a for sure playoff contender that he's going to be moved to, it's one of those situations. He already got paid. He loves living here in Miami, and
Well,
so
that's why they
it's
emphasize like, hey, we did make this decision together.
correct.
We are going to look for a trade partner. We
Correct.
don't know if it's going to go down. Maybe it doesn't go down. It's just that situation where, but when you basically confirm like, hey, we are going to start, it's going to eventually happen. As much as our hope and our prayer would be, hey, Miami still has a chance to be good, the reality of the situation is it doesn't look like that. Chris Greer's comments afterwards, what he said about that after the postseason, what he said about Tua, kind of putting the emphasis on that. What he said about Cam Smith saying we can't hold his hand no more. When he admittedly at the end there, when he says, I've had 3 different head coaches. Something that was that it stood out to me when he says, how do you adjust, blah, blah, what have you learned since, been the GM for that long? He says, it's interesting. There's all these different players that they like. They're having the 3 coaches, working with 3 coaches. They all have these different types of players they like. It's the adjustment. But I think the one thing that's common is just finding those guys that love football. They're tough kids, that they're tough kids, competitive, and love ball. I think that there's sometimes when maybe I veered a little bit, guys were like, hey, we're just going to take the athlete or something or whatever trait this player has. And you're kind of like, okay, let's just make that work. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't always. So, and he goes on talk, which is interesting because that's basically saying like, hey, you have a philosophy, but you're willing to give in on that philosophy.
And that's very telling because
yes,
it's not that the pressure is on him, but he goes, if I'm going to get fired, I'm going to do it my way.
Well, and this is when he says this.
Team my way.
He says, so myself, I think for me, sometimes maybe I defer too much. And I've talked about that. And that's probably the one thing I've learned that I've gotten up more along in my years, that the pushback is great. But that's what's great with Mike McDaniel. We don't always agree on everything, but we always come into alignment to where we get to help the Miami Dolphins. So it's been really good work with. So self-admittedly, he's saying, and maybe he's taking the blame off himself a little bit, saying, hey, it would probably be better if I didn't defer so much. That's my curse. It's not that I suck at making picks or I suck at whatever. It's maybe that I don't have the backbone to tell a Flores or a Gase or McDaniel at that point to say, hey, no, we're going with this guy, or I'm going with this guy. I'll cook. I give you the ingredients. You cook whatever I give you. So like you said, for me, that was telling. So I wonder how that may impact this draft. Do we see a Greer who's a little more aggressive or a little more going, whoa, wait a second. He didn't make that type of pick in years past, rather than go with the whole, because I know everybody has a, Scotty here in the comments, Cap, George at the Fins Faithful podcast with Jason Sarney, you, myself, we all have guys in mock drafts and we'd say, oh man, I would love to go this route, this route, this route. But reality, a lot of times it doesn't go that way. Miami goes to a whole other direction in regards of what they want to do. Let's see. Anthony says, Bobby, I did a draft a couple minutes ago where I traded down with the Chargers. I got Trey Amos at 48 and 56. I got Thomas and Kevin Winston Jr. 86. I got safety from Wisconsin. Very cool, my man. Very cool. I'm working on my official final one. I was going to say finale, but finale. But I'm working on my final one right now that will be presented on the clock Miami Dolphins draft show on Sunday. Coach and Josh Wingate got theirs in. And it's very interesting, the similarities, but also the differences and where they think we're going to go. And we had a very cool experiment the other day, Alex, on the clock. Josh Wingate, myself, and Coach. And we did a full round 1 mock draft.
Okay.
And I got pick 1, Josh got pick 2, Coach got pick 3. Okay. And then we kept going. So
4, 5, 6. I got
yeah, exactly. Okay. And it was just kind of crazy how that kind of went. Yeah. There was times where you go, whoa, wait, where did Cam Ward, number 1 in Tennessee, that was easy for me. I'm like, that's where
that's a foregone conclusion, right? That's confirmed. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then of course, what blew it up at the start was Cleveland. Josh Wingate goes Jackson Dart. And
Jackson Dart at 2?
Jackson Dart. And I was kind of like, whoa, okay.
Wow.
Coach goes Shadir Sanders at 3. Then it goes Abdul Carter to New England. Jacksonville goes Travis Hunter. Genty to the Raiders. I went Will Campbell with the Jets, the offensive tackle. Mason Graham to Carolina. Mimbo, the tackle, going to New Orleans. Amarian Hampton, the running back out of North Carolina, who's rising up boards. He went to the Saints. Kenneth Grant went to San Francisco. Trevian Henderson, the running back out of Ohio State, goes to Dallas. At that pick, I went Will Johnson. I had Will Johnson for Miami. I went Will Johnson there. And then where did this go? Oh, okay. So we go down. Bam, 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 bam. Go to Pittsburgh's pick. And you're going, okay, Pittsburgh. What do you think? What do you think Pittsburgh needs? Right? There's a lot of good players still on that board. You think quarterback.
Yeah.
Right? Shut up, Russ. Russ says long snapper. You go, okay, wait, Jalen Milroe. He's flying to Green Bay. He's going to be in the green room. That makes a lot of sense. No, you know who coach goes with? Curtis Work. So it was like, we were, whoa.
It could happen.
But at the same time, it's like, that shit happens. You never know. But I'll tell you this. If 3 quarterbacks go in top 10.
That's the thing.
That's the best case scenario for the Miami Dolphins.
That's a domino right there.
Because it pushes really good players down. And when you have that opportunity, like you go, man, we're losing Jalen Ramsey. Damn. But hey, you know what? We got Will Johnson. Or damn, we lost Jalen Ramsey. Oh, Will Johnson got picked. We got Jedi Barn.
I don't expect it. That was one clip I saw from Chris Greer. Obviously, you have to do this. You can't just say, no, I'm not going to do it. But he's like, he's not sure if he will pick a quarterback in the first round. What's going to start bubbling up if it comes to Miami's pick and Shadir Sanders on the board, which I don't believe he will be. I don't think he falls further than the Saints. But that's the thing with the Saints. Okay, I'll ask you this question. If the Saints have on the clock and both Jackson Dart and Shadir Sanders are there, who do you pick?
Shador.
Okay.
Yeah, I go Shador Sanders, and I'm with you. I think he does not fall past the Saints. I had it when I was going to do a full round 1 mock draft, and how I do the mock draft. As you're familiar, Scotty Cap, who've been watching for a while. I usually go based off obviously team needs, team rumors, draft board. So I'm looking at everything. I'm not just going off someone's draft board. I'm going off, you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, like Jacksonville. If Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter go 2 and 3, Jacksonville's sitting there. I think they're based off what the reporting is and they like Calvin Banks more than they like Will Campbell. Calvin Banks goes there. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. Now you're pushing down a good tackle down the board.
I'm here with Russ. I think Pittsburgh's going to trade up. Yes,
Pittsburgh could trade up. I think the Saints will trade up. I think I have the Saints. Originally, what my deal was the Saints trading up to the Raiders, taking the Raiders pick.
Oh, okay, and taking Shadir Sanders.
Yes, I go get above the Jets at that point because the Jets, even though they signed
Justin Fields.
You can't trust that they're going to go, okay, we're good. They might shock the world and take Shador, and it's like, hey, now they got 2 guys. Yeah. And, because Justin Fields is on a cheaper deal. I think it's 1 year, Russ, right? So I don't.
Justin Fields, isn't it 2?
I don't know. If it's 2, it's still you can't risk it. But
no, of course not.
If you're sitting there and you're like, okay, we got Justin, but hey, man, if we have an opportunity, let's we can't trust the Jets not to do it.
A 2-year,
so,
$40 million
if
deal.
I am the Saints or even Pittsburgh, and you really want Shador Sanders, I would jump ahead of the Jets at that point and then grab him. Just to secure to make sure he'll be there. Because I wouldn't trust the Jets not taking him. But we'll see as it goes along there. Let me make sure. I don't want to miss anybody's Cap says the press conference was damage control. He's basically telling everyone business is open in Miami. Scotty says whatever's going on with Ramsey has been going on for a long time. This situation isn't mutual in any way. Yeah, I think it has been going on for a while. I don't think this just came up out of blue. I think he was like, let's see how this plays out. Let's see how this offseason goes. And right now, if you think about it, it's compared to what Miami had in the cap situation. It's like, hey, you know what? That's not bad with what they had. But when you lose a player like Terron Armstead who decides to retire, Calais Campbell gets offered a little more money, but he says, no, I'd rather go to Arizona, which, again, that makes sense, right? Because He wants to finish out. But at the
It's
same
the
time,
full
you're like,
circle.
damn, we're losing out. We lost 2 of our captains. You know, the team does not look better. It ended on drama. Tyreek is in the news, not for good reasons. Jalen Ramsey could have been like, hey, this whole time as the star player under contract going, what are we doing here? And they were like, let us just work this out. Let's see how this plays out. And he may have came back and say, hey, look, I don't know. And they may say, you know what? Maybe it's best we decide to move on. And he says, okay, let's try to find a trade partner. And you know, so yeah, I think this has been brewing for a while, but again, it just sucks for Miami. You know, and I'm sure it sucks for Greer McDaniel because the fire is on, you know, especially with the fan base, and Greer knows it. He said it. He said he got a shirt from a fan that says, "Don't F this up." And you know, for your star players to all basically drop out on you, your star offensive player, maybe one of the number one, arguably, not last year, but arguably the number one wide receiver in football. Your guy is basically, you know, giving you hints he doesn't want to be there. He said that last year at the end of the game, but you could say a heat of the moment. But everything he has shown this offseason has shown that he doesn't really want to be there. I mean, he's being a headache. So it's like, God dang, dude, nothing's working in our favor. And so you kind of have to, you know, they're not going to say it. Nobody wants to admit it, but it's basically being ran as like a soft reset, except, you know, you still have a Tua, you still have a Devon Achane, a Jalen Waddle. You're going to think you're going to have a Tyreek. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So
you have a decent foundation. You have a nice foundation.
You have the talent to try to make a difference.
Absolutely.
You know, that's why, again, for me, that's why, like, I'm treating this like, even before Ramsey asked for a trade where they made that decision, I'm like, I was still leaning corner at 13, and it's still BPA. I'm still going BPA. I mean, obviously, if there's a guy there that falls, you know, whether that's a Genty, of course, Johnson, you know, you got there's a few guys that they fall. You got to consider it, but at the same time, you know, it's not some bad case scenario if you're leaving round 1 with a corner like that. Will Patron of 305 Sports now in the house. What's up, my brother? Great to see you. Yeah, that's a huge one, Cap. That's something that was in there as well. You know, when he talked about Cap leaders of the team, he said Zach Sealer. Then he took a very long pause, and he said Tyreek, and then he went on and named a couple guys, but he never mentioned Tua. That stuff stands out. And you know, it's like you could say it's nitpicking, but at the same time, it should be pretty easy to say leaders of our team. Hey, our quarterback Tua, he's a leader. Zach Sealer, you know, I can understand it after that part getting a little difficult, because is Tyreek a leader? Would I say Tyreek Hill's a leader? No, because leaders don't do that. You are, because even if you're feeling a certain type of way, Alex, which, you know, in a sense, you know, in our, you know, now, you know, whether you're a father or a brother or a friend or whatever, and maybe, you know, like, man, I feel worse, I'm mad. You got to lead by example.
Right.
That you got to do things that are not comfortable. And Tyreek didn't show that. Tyreek quit, you know, and his actions, even, you know, Tyron Armstead said that he had a very difficult conversation with Tyreek. That's a leader. That's a guy who's willing to be uncomfortable and say, hey, man, that was bullshit what you did. That was wrong. You know, and I don't care about your feelings. What you did was wrong. You quit on us. That's a leader. That's not what Tyreek is. And again, Tyreek Hill, the Dolphins are better with Tyreek, who's focused on his game on game day. If he's on the team, the Dolphins are better for it if he's on the field. But actions speak louder than words. So it's until he gets back on the field and he shows that he's 100% committed and he's back to being what he does best, is when I'll be, okay, let bygones be bygones. But right now, you can't say he's a leader, which Chris Greer did, and it's like, I don't know where you can go with that. You say Tyreek, who's having all these issues, but you can't say Tua, who's like, that's the obvious answer. And that might be a weak answer, because it's like, of course it's the quarterback. It should be a quarterback. Quarterback is usually the leader of the team. The guy who's not in the same ballpark as talent-wise Tua, you know, as Tua, like, I don't know, you can name any quarterback that's not in Tua's ballpark, they'll be like, oh yeah, he's a leader of our team, because he's the quarterback. They didn't name the quarterback. So, of course, people are going to Scotty says to play devil's advocate, which is awesome. I appreciate that. I always love the other side of an opinion. But to play devil's advocate, if we have such a culture issues, if we have such culture, isn't it better to move on from old existing locker room leadership if those captains are so significant as why 100%?
Correct. It could be that.
1,000%.
A refurbish of the culture.
So I'll ask you, Alex, and Scotty, you go ahead and answer, please, because it's a question for you, but I'll ask Alex since he can answer quicker since he's on live and he doesn't have to type it out. Were you, in order to help fix the culture, if it's, like, man, we got to fix this culture. It's going to hurt. I know our jobs could be on the line here, but maybe this will be, maybe this might help change the team. Maybe this might be better, but you're going to have to eat a lot of cap. You're going to have to risk it all at that point to play devil's advocate, right? To do the uncomfortable. Would you, like, obviously you're going to end up trading Jalen Ramsey because that's a decision you made, but would you take the cap hit and trade Tyreek Hill to see if that lights a spark on this team and maybe fixes the locker room, and maybe Jalen Waddle steps up and becomes that leader? I think if Tyreek is traded, I'm not as worried because, first of all, I really like Nick Westbrook. I'm excited for him. I'm intrigued by him. I think there's a couple of receivers in this draft not named McMillan, because I know that's a popular name. I'm not hating on that. I'm just saying I know everybody talks about McMillan, but I've been looking at these other guys. But there's guys in these drafts that you could get, and you feel pretty good about that receiver room. I think Jalen Waddle steps up and becomes number one again. I really do. I think he gets out of his head. I think that happens. But are you willing to risk it? Would you do that? Kill your cap at that point next season, whatever, just to cure the cancer of locker room issues?
I would if it makes sense. I'm not going to do it just to remove only on a cultural basis. It also has to make sense asset-wise. It has to make sense for my football team. But I compare the situation in some regards to the Heat situation. When Jimmy gets moved, new leadership is going to brew, but it's going to take a little bit of time. So I see kind of the two situation in regards to Tyler, Jalen Waddle, and all that, kind of like Bam, where, and not really that, because people talk about it, but you still got Phillips. Phillips has the leadership qualities. You got Chop Robinson, even when he's young. You got Bradley Chubb. I want to see what that ends up. Bradley Chubb is going to come back fully healthy. So, like I said, I know sometimes we think everything is bleak, but the foundation of the team is still pretty solid. So you might be refurbishing the culture because there's guys that don't want to be there, and where the new leadership kind of grows from within because of removing. It's kind of like when you have weeds in your yard. You want the grass to grow, you want the flowers to flourish. You got to remove some of the older ones that are creating a shadow over them because you need light. You need to water them. So players, teams are just like that at times. You can have all the talent in the world, and you might not be a perfect cohesive unit because you don't get along, or it's ran its course. It's all cool when it's all cool when everything is clicking, when everybody's in full motion and everybody's happy. That's fine. But troubled times define characters. When you're going through these, it either builds you or it breaks you. So legit, we've talked about McDaniel, we've talked about Greer. This is a legit make or break character of the team. Not even make or break year, we're going to be successful. No. This is the character of the team. This year will define where this team is going. Because by the looks of it, come this draft, Greer is going to have final say on everything. That's what I took from that press conference. He's going to hear you out. He's going to hear suggestions. But he knows if this is my time, I'm going to draft it one way, because there is nothing worse than a leader that defers when he really wants something because he has a vision. Now, you're going to respect your coach. You're going to respect your scouts. Of course, that's what they do. You have senior executives. You got consultants. People think that drafting or signing free agents is a one-person thing. No, every team has a team of experts, scouts, consultants, that they consult. You weigh the pros and cons. Even high school coaches, you consult with people. Yes, the decision is finally yours, and you got to live with it. But it's a team dissection of what decision you're going to make. And legit, that's why teams have the famous big board. You rate players legit 1 through 1,000. How the board falls, you already made your rating. One person's board could be different than the other.
1,000%.
That's it. That is the basis of drafting. Now, if something comes out, that's why I truly believe in that, because the way I envision it is I have every pick in the draft. Who am I picking first? I want this guy first. I'm picking second. I want this guy second. Like, that's how I envision it. So I'm not caught by surprise if anybody trades up or domino plucks, because I got my board. So if he's there at 4, I don't care if someone that I have ranked at 6 that they expect it to be at 2. I don't care. I'm going to pick him.
Yes.
But that is what I feel Greer is going to do. And I respect that, because that's
Well, you have to, right? I mean, you have
respect
to
it.
at that point, because it's his decision. Like, I know Will is saying right now, Greer has been such a hit and miss in draft. I'm not sure I trust him. I get it, right? I
Yeah.
understand not trusting. At the same time, though, stuck
But now
like Chuck, really.
But now it comes to play, because you see, now I'm going to play real devil's advocate. Greer said that sometimes he deferred. How many of those hits or misses were Greer's picks and were Greer deferring? We're never going to know.
Well, we're never gonna know. But at the same time,
that's
though,
the
you can look
thing.
at it and go, but you see, the same thing is it starts and ends with him. You're the general manager,
Of course,
right?
100%.
So it's easy to say, hey, the guy that's not here, man, I used to defer to him a lot. Oh, dude, that's why the
Yeah, of
picks
course,
were
of
not good.
course.
But it's like, you know what I'm saying? But, you know,
Yeah.
so all right, so you're putting the stakes on you.
Yeah.
Anthony, I know you said that twice. I disagree. Greer went out of his way not to mention Tua as one of the leaders, because lack of that means he doesn't have faith in him as a leader.
He
I'm
could
not
be protecting Tua a little bit for the scrutiny. I get that, but
Yeah.
still,
I'm
have
just
the
gonna
opportunity to elevate him.
Yeah, and Hunter Long did get you Jalen Ramsey, who of course you're not going to trade. So I'm not going to do a throw up emoji at Hunter Long. He still got you Jalen Ramsey with a 3rd round pick. But yeah,
Which
Hunter
is
Long.
insane, by the way.
But I will say again, I can't. I'm not going to put words in Greer's mouth as to why he did not bring up Tua. It's just, it's obvious that it's like, hey, dude, that was like, damn, you didn't bring up Tua. You know, I don't know why he didn't bring. Tua is not available as a leader. Maybe he does. Maybe Tua has not shown that role as a leader to tell Tyreek, hey man, cut your shit out. You know, get it together. Because sometimes you got to, again, you have to have those tough discussions. I don't know if Tua's do that or not. That's why I don't want to say that. I can't say, oh, this is why he didn't mention him. I don't know why he didn't mention him. I'm just saying it stuck out. And again, if I would say it's a leader thing to do, to go up. Like if I had an issue with Alex about what he was doing, it might be a tough conversation to have with Alex, or vice versa. I'll just say, like, yeah, vice versa. Alex might say, maybe Alex sees that I'm doing something. The tough thing, it's tough. You don't want to have that conversation. It's uncomfortable. But as a leader, you're going to go, or as, maybe as a leader of his family, you go, hey man, I need to talk to you. Hey dude, your attitude sucks. It's bringing down the team. I got love for you. This, but dude, you either get in or get out. I can't. That's a tough thing. That's like, damn, dude, I didn't see it like that. Or hey, shit.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a tough conversation. Maybe Tua doesn't do that. Maybe obviously Armstead did. McDaniel is McDaniel a leader? I don't know that. He should be, right? He's the coach. I just saw Caps comment now. It needs to be the leader. Absolutely, 100%. Can he grow that? Can he grow up that pair to do it and say, okay, now, well, maybe if he trades a Jalen Ramsey, gets rid of a Tyreek, maybe then he could be, hey, with the new guys, hey guys, this is it. We got rid of the other guys. We're young. Let's do it. Then maybe this might be the path to do that. Manzano says, I want to left this on here so I can answer it. If Tyler Warren is there and the Chargers call you to trade down and they offer you 20, 56, and 86, do you take it? That's 3 picks in the top 100. I think that gives you 5 picks total. I would have to see who's on the board at that point. It would not shock me if a team wanted to call up for Tyler Warren, because the Colts are right after Miami and they're probably going to get him. Even though I think, don't sleep on Colston Loves. I'm going to butcher his name, aren't I? Do I have it here in front of me? Colston Loveland. I think, they really like. I think they like him. I think they would be up on there. I think they could wait and see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I would have to strongly consider it. I hope that answers it. So they need to stop calling him Mike and start calling him Coach. That's what they should have started doing a while back. But again, that he wanted to go in there and do that, and that he thought that was the right thing to do, right? But obviously, and this is what happens. This is when I talk about veteran coaches when a coach gets laid off or whatever. You're like, oh, we can't hire that guy. That guy got fired. No shit. That's why he's a free agent. You know what I mean? If McDaniel got fired this year because of all this, I would expect him to do better at his next head coaching job if he ever does get it, because then he learns, I can't do that anymore. I can't be that. It didn't work in Miami. So now when he takes over that new job, if that occurs, you're going to see a different McDaniel, because he's going to be like, hey, Coach McDaniel, or hey, you call me, I'm your coach first, but if you need me, you grow from that. I don't think it's now if he gets rid of the Tyreeks and and Ramsey automatically leave the door. It looks like, but he got rid of the Tyreek or whatever, and the guys that maybe he doesn't feel comfortable going toe to toe with because obviously they are one of the top echelons of the league. But then he starts, he got these younger guys that love him and he's cool with them. He can say, "Hey guys, we're going to be a little different now." He just needs to get a couple guys on his side. If he could go to Tua and Waddle and Phillips and Chubb or whomever and say, "Hey guys, I need you guys to be with me on this. I need you guys to, lead by example. I'm your coach. Don't question me. Don't do this. Like, we're still good. Come to me behind closed doors. But you need to show that, hey, this is where it ends. And, if I say the meeting starts at 8:00 or 9:00, you're there at 8:45. You know what I'm saying? Like, Alex? It's like, hey, if you get here, if it's here at 9, like I'm joking at the same time, but I'm telling you, if it starts at 9, if you get here at 9, you're late. But that's what it's in the locker room. That's the way it should be. I think that's what he needs to do. I'm not going to waste too much time on, get rid of it, because it's not going to happen this year. Not going to worry about it. I'm already on. We'll see how he does next year. I'm on about what we're going to do at the draft.
Correct.
So that's how I think you could possibly do it. Pulling a couple guys, if you guys are on the team, I'd say Anthony, Will, Scotty, Alex, come here. Hey man, look, we got rid of these two guys over here. It sucks. We know how important they weren't to this team, but we need to do something. We should not have ended the way we did, and I think it starts with a culture change here. And I'm going to need you guys to help me on this. I'm going to need you to, hold your teammates accountable, hold your positions accountable. Get here 15 minutes early. Hold me accountable, but also show me the respect in front of your peers.
Correct.
It could happen. It could. And again, that's being a leader as well, because now you're having an uncomfortable conversation with your lead guys to say, hey man, I need you guys to step up now.
Yeah.
Because I'm helping you. I'm putting it also on you.
And I'm not saying this is going to be a direct correlation or comparison by any mean, but look at the Bills situation. They lost big names before last year. Stephon Diggs, Jordan Pryor, and somehow they improved in every category. So sometimes like I said, I'm not comparing it because I'm not saying we're going to be like that. Sometimes you need to remove certain people or certain places and everything else will flourish. And it's nothing against Tyreek Hill as a person, as a player, or nothing against Jalen Ramsey as a person or as a player. But sometimes teams organically, when you kind of change the synergy, their energy comes out. Positive energy comes out, and they're in tune with each other, and they play for one another. And you do have players with chip on their shoulders in Phillips, Chubb, coming back from injuries. You got a great talent in Chop Robinson, and you have a draft class that you can replenish the depth of this team with this draft class alone, and there's still free agents available that they will make decisions once the draft is complete. So there's still, obviously we're not done by any means building the team. The structure is there. Now, to me, what I always look into, what is the surprise that comes after the draft? Who gets released? Who gets their contract restructured? I'm always intrigued by what comes after your draft class. What do you do after that?
Well, Chris Greer, that's great because Chris Greer has he stated a few times street free agents. And so that's why, again, the draft doesn't end. I mean,
correct,
or offseason doesn't end after the draft. No. At the draft, it ends when you get to the preseason, and then of course it's still because remember Chad Pennington came during the preseason that year that he was signed because of the cuts. So we're like, oh man, we need a guard. Okay, Miami didn't come out with a guard or a really good guard in the draft. Damn, they got this one guy, but is he really ready? Oh crap! Wait, they just signed this guy, whomever. I don't know. Throw a name out there that's still available. Or a guy that got cut. It happens. I mean, can we trust that's going to happen? No, but I think Miami has a few eyes on a few guys. They're like, hey, if we don't hit on this player here or this position, we have it nailed down in free agency post. They probably have some conversations, but remember, Miami's been pretty stingy with their money, and that's what some of the free agents would say. But again, excuse me. There's a lot of positions in this draft that Miami could tackle. That at the end, I'll be like, okay, I like what they did there. You talk about corner, defensive line, offensive guard, offensive tackle, safety, running back, receiver, linebacker. There is I know a few of them that I'm gonna be honest. Spoiler alert.
You just named every position on the field.
Well, no, I named every position on my board. On my mock. I didn't name quarterback on there. That though, there was some times where I thought about going that route, but at the same time, though, there were players there. I was kind of like, oh, do I really want to pass on this guy? I don't want to spoil that until Sunday, but I feel really good if Miami came away with that draft the way it is, the way I have it. I feel really good. You could come away with some of these players and say, okay, man, we got good young pieces. Obviously, you're not, you go lower in the draft, or like, oh, this guy can't start. No, you do need to come out with at least 3. I would say minimum 3 starters
from this draft. Yes,
3 to 4.
Correct.
You need to come away with guys who are going to have impact, and maybe not even starters too. And when you get into it, but guys who are going to contribute.
Rotational pieces, yeah.
The receiver. There's a few of them, man. The one that I seen a lot of, I don't know who brought this up, Scotty. Maybe I don't know if you did or whomever, but I got the chance to watch him. He's not in the mock. I didn't have a mock to Miami. In this mock, but one guy was Savion Williams. I keep thinking of Savion Mitchell, and it's that because of Davian Mitchell. But it's Savion Williams of TCU. People keep talking about him, so I was like, okay, I gotta watch him. And let me see, what do I have on this guy? Hold on.
What is he mock? Like second, third?
He's like third, fourth, around that area. If you look at his statistics, it's like, oh man, it ain't great. No, but first off, 6'6", 222. Eye-popping size.
That's a big body receiver.
Big guy. Big, fast, strong, but raw prospect. He's not the most reliable catcher. I saw someone that hit him right in the gut and it dropped. But you know who he reminded me of? Because he played receiver and running back for TCU. He reminded me a lot of Cordell Patterson. Like that type of player. And I love Cordell Patterson. That dude's like, Swiss
Army knife.
That's 100%. And that's something that Miami loves, Mike McDaniel loves, and I'm cool with that. The other guy, because I know I started thinking about big receivers, because obviously I love big receivers, and I think that's what we need. But you think about speed, and a guy I'm going to bring up, that I think people need to start looking at that might be an option, and Miami has drafted from the school in the past, is Dante Thornton out of Tennessee. This kid is blazing speed. I mean, it was ridiculous. 6'5", 205. He's got the size. He's got the speed. He doesn't have consistent production, but he's an intriguing mid-round option. Straight line speed. He'll take the top off of defense. Physical wideout. Can outmuscle a defensive back like right off the line of scrimmage. And of course, man, he could track the ball and catch it. I saw him slow down a couple times. I don't know how to say his name, but the Nico, the quarterback for Tennessee, who just went to another team.
Oh, Iroslav. Oh,
I know how to say his name. I know his first name is Nico. Yeah, but he to me, I was like, easy replacement, not easy, but like you want speed, you want to keep that speed on this offense. This guy could be the guy. He needs to refine his route running. That's something I saw. It's like 3 or 4 routes that he can run. Even though he could take the top off of defense, I mean, he could burn the hell out of you, Alex. But if he has to cut for a route, you could catch him. It's not like he, cuts a left and all of a sudden now he's way gone. No, if it's straight line, if you're like running side by side, you're not going to get him. But if you get him cuts left to the inside, that's when you have your opportunity to make a play on him. So, but that it's a challenge vertically, for a defensive back. But when he's breaking to a route, it's average. To me, 3rd, 4th round, if you come away with him, golden goose type of situation. I like him a lot as a little like under the radar type player. Savion, there you go. So Scotty says Savion's a dog. Absolutely love him. He's super athletic. Play him in the Wildcat, in which he did. I watched some of the film, and he was. All I know is Thor couldn't stop riding a rock. There you go. Talking about Thor Griffin, defense dad of Louisville. All I know is he couldn't stop riding a rock. I actually have him on my list. Cap. For players to watch. I'll tell you what, defensive tackle, I am not too concerned with reaching for a guy. Not I don't want to say reach because Miles, it's not Mason Graham. Those 13. That's not a reach or nothing like that. I know Kenneth Grant. His projection kind of fluctuates. It goes from 13 to higher to 13. I mean, I've heard 5 before. I've seen second round. I've seen all that. So, but to me, you could get a good D tackle. I know, isn't it, Jamila? You know what's rude? Him coming 10 minutes after the show started. That's rude too. So you need to work on that.
Just igniting, man.
You need to work on that. But Alfred Collins out of Texas, Omar. Oh my goodness, Lott, Omar Newton Lott or Omar Lott. He has 2 last names. I'm forgetting right now. But from Tennessee, I like him. Obviously Darius Alexander. There's a few guys that you could grab later and feel good about. Norman Lott, thank you. Norman Lott out of Tennessee. There's a couple guys that you get at 48 and then you go down to 98. There's guys there that you'd be like, oh, okay, we got a guy we could push right next to Zach Sealer and get in that rotation. I'm feeling good about. We'll just have to see how it plays out. It's the same thing with offensive line. I know a lot of people are like, oh, we got to get offensive line at 13. No, you don't.
You don't.
What? If there's a guy sitting there that's like a can't miss talent, why are you going to pass up on that when you could probably get, if you need a left guard, you could go, you got, Savanea out of Arizona, possibly maybe be in there. You got Tate Ratledge or Dylan Fairchild later on. There's a few guys, there's other guys I could name. Charles Grant that could be there later it's a plug and play type of situation. You don't need to go, oh, I got to have this guy because we don't have it there. No, then you're playing a losing scenario. You're reaching at that point, except when you go, holy crap, wait, why did the Dolphins draft this guy? They don't need this position. Well, he's the best player available. Don't reach. I do a lot of mocks. I don't go D tackle until Scotty, you and I, my man. You and I. And don't get me wrong. Again, at 48, Alfred Collins is not a bad pick. At all. I mean, I like him a lot, but again, you don't have to do that at that moment. Just because, oh my God, we lost Calais Campbell. Oh my goodness. Yes. Oh, you could hold if there's a better player sitting there, do it. Or Miami should do it. Come away with superior talent.
You cannot be reactive in drafts.
Because I hear a lot of people say that if Miami doesn't go offensive tackle or offensive line, I'm gonna blow this place. Oh my God. It's like you're basically doing what you don't want them to do, that you've bitched and moaned about for 2, 3, 10 years, whatever you say with Chris Greer, 20 years.
Yeah.
You've complained about that. Oh, we took Eichenberg over Jonathan Taylor, and we took this guy over Justin Jefferson. Well, because Miami needed a need, and they overdrafted. Instead, what they should have done was, holy crap,
Jonathan Taylor.
We don't need Justin. Yeah, we
Jefferson.
don't need a run back. Take that guy. We don't need Justin Jefferson. What the hell you do? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing here?
You don't need him now, but you want him.
Well, again, when that player is blowing your ass up every season, and he's having a Hall of Fame career somewhere else, and you're sitting there with so-and-so because that's the position you needed, and he's average as hell, and now your fan base, the same fan base that's banging the table for that one position, and they don't take the player you really wanted, they're the ones, the Dolphin fans aren't going to lose their job. You are. So go BPA, whoever that is. Jake said 6-7. Was that the score? Is that what he beat you?
That's something that's just going on as a song or something. So they'll just be like talking about like, yo, how tall is LaMelo Ball? 6'7". And it's like it's part of. I think it's part of a song. I don't know. I'm disconnected from their generation.
I don't know. These kids, they ran ass things.
These
now.
children.
I don't get
no
it.
cap. No cap.
Too small.
On God. Yeah. Riz God.
My son started saying, "My dog." Oh, come on, dog. I'm like, dog.
Yeah.
Who's dog, bro?
Yeah.
Who's dog? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and now I don't know if you've seen it now. Like the trend now is like the good boy. So like they'll be like, "Yo, hey, can you give me some water?" And they get the water. Good boy. So now it's all.
No, it hasn't happened to me yet.
Oh, watch.
It hasn't happened to me yet, bro.
Watch when you hear the kids or like in school, you'll just see it over and over.
Talking about the draft, let me just shout out very quick what we got going on next week. Starting Thursday, in place of East 10th Street Boys, Alex will be here. I will be here. Josh and Coach will start it off. But Friday, rounds 2 and 3, 7 p.m. Eastern, and Saturday, the finale of the draft, 4 through 7 on Saturday. Sponsored by Caneswear. Every day of the draft, live draft coverage. If you're watching, if you're commenting, like you are right now throughout the draft, you have an opportunity to win a Caneswear gift card. On those 3 days, it'll be 3 different winners, 3 random winners of our choosing on those days. I appreciate Caneswear for doing that. Brett and his team, they have an awesome show. They killed it yesterday. They had 2,300 people watching the Caneswear podcast last night. It's really cool, but they kill it with their content. They kill it with their shop. If you guys love the Florida Panthers, Miami Heat, Miami Dolphins, Inter Miami, whatever, don't go anywhere else but Caneswear. Like, they got awesome stuff. They celebrating 15 years. I think they got great discounts. Go there, check it out. If you're in the area, it's 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida. And if you're in Tennessee like me, or wherever else you may be other than South Florida, like Alex, you go to caneswear.com. They got some, if you're a Hurricanes fan, they got some awesome Hurricanes jerseys that came in. Mitchell and Ness, Sean Taylor, and Ed Reed jerseys. They're flying off the shelves. I think they just got another shipment, I think. Of course, I could be wrong because how fast they're flying. But go online, check them out. If you really want one, don't miss out, dude. And again, if you want a gift, a free, if you want a chance at a free gift card to Caneswear to get a shirt or whatever, anything they got there, watch the Pro Football Draft live coverage show here on FTSN, and just stick with us. As you're watching the draft live, react, talk, discuss. At the end of the show of each draft day, we will choose one winner at random. We'll decide, we'll see the name there and say, oh, so-and-so. And, of course, you'll make contact with me or whomever, and then we'll get you that gift card sent over to you. I think they do it virtually, I think by email or something. I'm not sure. But either way, Brett's awesome with that. Awesome dude. So there you go. Let's move this along, man. We talked Miami Dolphins for I did. Alex is sitting on the hamburger for like 20 minutes. No, I'm just playing. We have 96 people tuning in right now at this late hour, so that's pretty cool. Wherever you guys are watching from, we appreciate you all tuning in to East 10th Street Boys. I didn't get to ask Alex at first because usually we do a talk beforehand before the show, kind of catch up on life and shit. And but he was a dick. Being a dad. And like, okay, no, I'm just playing. But have you watched The Bronx Tale?
No, I have not.
Cancel.
I told you this. We're gonna have a live episode as I'm watching The Bronx Tale, and we'll react and we'll communicate. We've discussed this.
Did you get a chance to watch the Moses show?
I saw the first 15 minutes and I had to leave, and I haven't been able to go back. I like it so far. I like the fact that it's like you can tell it's almost like an indie film production where it's limited things. So it's pretty cool, the comedy of it. Yeah,
it's a small budget film. It's a small budget show, but I thought it was really if you guys don't know what we're talking about, it's called The Promised
Land.
Is it The Promise? No, it's not The Promised Land, is it?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, maybe it is The Promised Land.
Yeah.
But it's Moses after leaving Egypt with his people. They're in they're in the desert basically, and it's basically the Bible meets The Office. It's such a interesting concept, and it's so funny, and it's I thought it was clever. But anywho, let's get into it very quick. Yeah. The NBA play-in games are going down. The Miami Heat dominated the Chicago Bulls 3 years in a row. Big game from Tyler Hero. Let's see if I got that pulled up here for a second. Forgive me.
Yeah. Wiggins had a big game too.
Wiggins. Let's see. 38 points. Tyler Hero is 13 from 19 of the field. Andrew Wiggins with 20. And Adebayo, of course, finishing with a double-double, 15 and 12. And Andrew Wiggins had 9 rebounds. So I know Manzano said in the comments earlier, because the Heat will face the Hawks tomorrow for that opportunity at the playoffs. He does not believe the Heat have enough to beat the Hawks. But Alex, so just very quick before you get into that, how you feel about that game, and do you think Miami could go through? Because I know you said it, they get in the playoffs, you don't see them going far, but the play-in is a separate story. But is their lottery pick out the door already because they won, or they got if they lose tomorrow, they still got it?
If they lose tomorrow, they still got the lottery pick this year. And then they're automatically, since you can't trade picks on first round picks on back-to-back years, automatically their 2026 pick goes unprotected to OKC, and their 2028 pick goes unprotected to the Hornets. So that's why the majority, probably the whole front office and the coaching staff, want to win and make it to the playoffs, even if they're going to get bounced out, which they're going to give Cleveland problems. Cleveland doesn't want to face Miami. I still think Cleveland will pull it out, but it'll go 6 or 7 games because Miami's in a position that they really have nothing to lose. They're not expected to be there. No one expected them to be there now. And it seems like everything is clicking at the right time, and they're healthy. They're relatively healthy. The bodies are not banged up, and you kind of have a clear idea of your playing style this year. We know there's changes coming. It could be minor role changes, or it could be significant franchise changing moves. Now, do I think they could beat Atlanta? Absolutely, hands down. That does not mean that Trae Young might not go crazy, but Atlanta seems disconnected right now. Atlanta seems to know that there's changes coming to them. There's going to be movement in Atlanta, and I don't see them. I don't think they have anybody that can stop Tyler Hero, the size of Bam and Ware. Wiggins is playing an exceptional role. Burks is playing his role magnificent. Davion Mitchell is a for sure re-sign. Like, I don't think there's no question that Davion Mitchell, he might not start, but I think the Heat they're gonna make him a restricted free agent. I would be surprised if they don't come to a contract agreement, or if they let him test the market, they'll match the offer unless it's some crazy absurd annual average. But Miami has all the makings to beat Atlanta and go into the play-in, which ideally, the more and more you see it, you kind of understand why they want to make it to the playoffs, because you do not want to you don't know anything that could happen. And with a young team, it's very difficult to envision you giving up 2 years of unprotected picks, which you see other organizations, the situations that they're in, like the Suns. And now I even saw their press conference about talking about, they want to change back to a defensive team. You had a defensive coach in Frank Vogel. You fired him for Budenholzer. You talk about roster composition, but that's not a roster composition for a championship. We saw that. When they traded for Beal, we knew right away, where's the defense? There's no defense. But this is something that, what I see with Miami, you are in a perfect scenario. Why? Because you're in a win-win. You're not supposed to be in the playoffs. You're not supposed to be Cleveland. So right now, what you're doing is your young guys are getting experience in the regards of, depending, obviously, if Jovic comes back. Slow-Mo is playing a great backup 5. There's things that the Heat have to address in the offseason, because one of the things that will help out Tyler and this offense is having a versatile scorer with size, because there's situations here that you're very one-dimensional in the sense where your shooting comes from one section, and you're going to see some youth movement, even with Kashad Johnson coming up as well. There's other movements coming along. But like I said, it's a win-win. And I think they're going to beat Atlanta. I think they're going to give Cleveland it's going to be a fun series. It really is. I'm really excited for these playoffs, because the way things are matching up, even the Houston and Warriors series, that's going to be amazing in the West. Like, Houston, the worst team that Houston going to play is the Warriors, because Warriors have the experience and Houston is a young team. I know people talk about OKC being young, but OKC has been there. OKC went through the trials and tribulations. This is Houston's first year. Houston, I think it could go 6 or 7, but I think the Warriors are going to take that series. It's a fun time of basketball. It sucks that the last 2 play-ins in the last game, yesterday's both games were both blowouts. It wasn't close. Obviously, Miami and Chicago got a little close at the end, but Sacramento, they're going to go through a rebuild again. They're moving. Now, what I do find intriguing, and you can circle back to this, the farewell yesterday between Vucevic and Spo. Vucevic is someone that I can see finishing in the Heat uniform as a backup 5 eventually. And I know Brook Lopez is going to be out there. Clint Capella is going to be out there. Watch for those backup 5s, because you want some athletic, productive players with range. And I was very intrigued by the way Vucevic responded to Spo and the way he said goodbye to him. because there's a youth movement going on in Chicago, and Baselis is going to be amazing. So, and Giddey, we talked a lot about the Caruso and Giddey trade. The Chicago Bulls getting Giddey might have been the steal here. I know Caruso is a defensive juggernaut, but that is not looking bad at all. So it's a fun time. It's a fun time, and for the Heat, it happened to be this year. Like I said, you're going against all expectations, so you're good to go, man. Like you're good to go. If you make it in, you give Cleveland the head of a series, and we match up very well with them.
I'll be honest. I that's exactly how I answered it to my son. He was saying like, okay, so do we not get Cooper or whatever? I said, first off, I said, because we're just asking, questions about what happens. And I just told him, I said, more than likely that wasn't the case anyway. I said, but really, I told him it's a win-win. It's a win-win. You just took the words out of my mouth. I said, because if the Heat lose, they got a lottery pick, and I love the way the Heat. Now they still have a pick. They got a first-round pick with Golden State, but if they lose, they get a lottery pick.
Correct.
Which is great. I think they have a better chance at the top 4, I think, in that scenario, because they go 12, 11, whatever. But I think they got like
they have like a 9% chance to get to the top 4.
Which is great. If they could do that, that's awesome. But at the same time, though, people are like, oh, I hope they don't win. I want a top 4 pick. No, it's a win-win, because anytime Miami's in the playoffs, it's a chance. And I agree. I think even though Cleveland is no joke and Miami more than likely won't beat them, I think Miami could have a chance to surprise them. Yeah. Look. And hey, look what Tyler did, man. And shout out to Tyler Hero for stepping up. It's the same situation with Miami. You just brought it up earlier with the Dolphins. You mentioned Jimmy Butler. Yeah. Jimmy Butler leaves. He's supposedly your captain, your leader. You get rid of him because he just couldn't do it anymore, and he didn't want to be there, and he wanted to play. But why are we going to have you on the damn court if you're not going to put your heart into it, Mr. Miserable? And so you get rid of him, and there's going to be a rough patch. There's no honeymoon in that scenario. You got to get through that. Guys have to step up, and you know what? Guys did. Tyler Hero stepped up. Bam Adebayo stepped up as a leader. Tyler Hero stepped up as the number one player. Shout out to someone who's had a rough year, but he closed it out strong. Jaquez had a great game the other day. Shout out to him. But Khalil Ware, a lot of pressure on him. He was the number one pick. A lot of people want another guy. He came in. I mean, he played. Now the NBA takes notice. It's not just Miami fans. The NBA is always highlighting Khalil Ware. And I guarantee you, teams are going to call for him. If Miami wants to make a deal, they're going to, okay, we can get Khalil Ware. No, you cannot. You cannot get Khalil Ware. You go get another guy. We have a whole stack of them back there. You can't have him. Yeah. But that's why, for me, that's why it's a win-win. Because the picks Miami have made, the Heat, if they don't get advanced into the playoffs, because I always want to win. I'm not a guy who says, oh, let's lose. Bullshit. I want my team to win. That's how I feel about it. But if they did, okay, whether it's 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 4, whatever, I'm feeling pretty good with that opportunity to get a good player, because I know Miami has hit. Not every guy is going to be consistently good. Things happen. Hawk is a struggle this year. Jovic can't see the court this year because of injuries. That happens. But I trust that when those guys find themselves again, whether that's getting healthy or whether mental, I believe that they're going to be game changers for the Heat and in productive roles, whether rotation or starter minutes. And I think Miami's could find a quality guy. It's just about what guy plug and you play pieces, because with Davion Mitchell, you got to bring him back at a good price. I don't want to overpay, but I don't want to lose out on him either. Yeah. You bring him back, but I think you still got to go, and because you got to still find that wing guy. You got to find maybe like a legitimate point guard. If you get that top 4, maybe you start looking at that. I'm not sleeping on a big either, whether that's a 4 or 5. Like just to be behind those two guys, Khalil Ware, because you want size. That's where the NBA is now. It's kind of gone back to that. Obviously, how I am, Alex. I watch everything and I've tried to study everything, but I haven't gotten into that yet. No. And I will though. I will.
I got a few names. I'll throw one out there for you. Rasheer Fleming. You can look at him. They're gonna look. They're gonna look for versatile big men. But what to the common fan, the way I look at it is this. This is very simple.
I love that saying. The common fan. That's one guy who probably watching right and goes, "Fuck this guy." The common. That means you don't know anything, bro.
No, I don't mean it disrespectfully.
You're basic.
Basic bitch.
The basic fan. What? Damn.
For the person that just follows ESPN, breaking news, and ticker, and be like, and thinks that like the biggest insult to a player is like, you suck, bro, and he's a Hall of Famer. Like to that fan, we were losing Jimmy Butler either way. What you got in return was Andrew Wiggins, which is manageable. You got Slow-Mo, Kyle Anderson, which is a rotational piece on a playoff team, possibly. You got Davion Mitchell, which is the steal of that trade package. Yep. And he was a late add-on. And then you have a first-round pick that you weren't going to have if you made the playoffs this year because your pick was going to OKC either way. And now you got possibly either the 18th, 19th, or the 20th pick, depending on the tiebreaker that they're going to have next week because the Warriors finished on a 3-way tie. So they got to define. Hopefully we get the 18th. So realistically, if you would have made the playoffs on a regular day, on a regular year, you would have had a pick close to that range. So to me, it's a win-win, and it's a youth movement, and there's something very important. Sometimes in a locker room, for players to breathe and grow, you have to remove the person that is sucking all the oxygen out of the room. And that is across the board in business, at home sometimes, in professional settings, in professional sports settings. Sometimes the worst thing that can happen to a team is you get stuck in between developing and going all in. And I'll use the prime example again, not to shit on them, is the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns had a great thing going for them. They had Chris Paul. They had Devin Booker. They had Mikal Bridges. They had Cam Johnson. They had DeAndre Ayton. They had, oh my God, I forgot. There was like two players off the bench. They jumped the gun. I understand the trade for Kevin Durant. Amazing. I would do that as well. You traded Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. Perfect. But now I got KD, I got Ayton, I got Chris Paul. You had a team. You double down. Sometimes when teams get stuck in these in-betweens and then the rest of the league is getting younger, all of a sudden now you fall years behind where you're almost a generation behind. Like teams right now that are rebuilding, you're a generation behind the OKC Thunder because the OKC Thunder lost for 2 to 3 years. Look at the Sixers. The Sixers were there. Now they have to possibly trade Paul George to even be possibly contenders next year. So a lot of these teams, like, and we've talked about this youth movement, if the right player becomes available, in the essence of Kevin Durant, another player you're going to hear a lot, Zion Williamson. Joe Dumars is now the president of basketball operations in the Pelicans. They might look into moving Zion Williamson. So there's always going to be a team, a player that asks out. Giannis in Milwaukee, if they get shipped out of the playoffs early, those conversations are going to start happening. Damian Lillard is going to start talking about it. Brook Lopez might leave. Bobby Portis has a player option. There's seismic moves coming in this offseason. But like I said, I'm happy that this team overcame. Sometimes I'd rather go through it in season so you already have it encapsulated and you start an offseason already with a mindset of, I'm building my offense around Bam and Khalil. Like that wasn't even a thought process when this training camp. Khalil and Bam weren't going to play together until probably the later of the season. Now you put them in and you're like, wow, this actually works. You know what impressed me the most? Khalil's work, footwork these past couple of games. It's night and day. And a whole offseason, a whole training camp, he's moving within the flow of the offense. He's a functional piece. It's amazing what you see out there. There's still things they need to work on, but you kind of see the writing on the wall. And obviously Tyler Hero's leap is incredible because he's everything that people thought he wouldn't possibly be. And now he's getting respect on the national level. It's not Miami media. It's not Miami fans. It's national level respect for a player. You're like, holy shit, this guy can keep up. This guy can score. Like he's found multiple ways to score. He scores at 3 levels.
Yep.
So it's an exciting time, even within the losing. But then you also always go back and you're like, even after we traded Jimmy and we went through that 10-game losing streak, you're like, damn, if a few of those games would have broken our way, we could have been the 5th or the 6th seed, even the 4th seed, pushing the limits. And I'm like, this team is not that bad. And they're young, but they're veteran young. You got Andrew Wiggins and Bam, and Tyler. Those aren't 21, 22-year-olds. Like they got Alec Burks. They got a veteran head coach. So they're not that young. They just, the experience caught up to them this year.
So do you predict that they will advance
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I believe we'll beat Atlanta, and I believe Cleveland
But you
can go
wouldn't
6-7 games.
you wouldn't be torch earth. You wouldn't be scorched earth if they lost though. You'd be like, hey, it's all right.
No, because like I said, look, I know if I'm the GM. Obviously, I'm doing everything possible, because I do not want to owe anybody unprotected picks in 26 and 28. But my team loses. I got two high picks in a great draft. So sometimes I'd rather have the picks now than wait for later, because I know if I pick and I do my job right and I acquire the players that I want to acquire, my 2026 unprotected pick is going to be in the late 20s or 30s. So I don't have any issue with that as long as you do what's right. And at the end of the day, you can only you control your destiny. You win, you have control of your draft situation. You don't, you got a lottery pick with the potential to move up into the top 4. So you take it either way.
There you go. All right, we're at the hour and 16 minutes here of the show. Let me just ask, man, you ready for the Easter Bunny?
Yeah, as ready as I can be.
Yeah.
You got surprises for me here?
No, Easter Bunny pops up.
Throw something. Yeah.
No, because Easter is coming up, and it's just shout out to everybody. Happy Easter to all those who celebrate, or happy Passover to those as well. Just happy holiday to everyone, man. Appreciate you guys for all those who are tuning in.
I thought it was gonna be like a crazy remake. Like now they're remaking it, like Popeye the Slayer Man. Have you seen that one?
Are you referencing the Wrath of Man when you say scorched earth? No, scorched. I'm not referencing that. I wasn't referencing anything. I was just asking. But when I hear scorched earth, I think of The Boys on Prime.
Oh.
When I forget his name right now, but when he tells oh God, what's his name, man? He's supposed to be like Superman. I don't know. Either way, the bad guy, the bad superhero, the main one, he's supposed to be like Superman, but he's ruthless. I can't believe I'm forgetting it right now. Which hopefully Tati's watching. But when the hero, not the hero, but he's like an anti-hero. He's a bad guy. Homelander's like the Superman, but he's evil as hell. Like he pretends like everybody loves him, and it's kind of speaks to what the situation is now in real world. But that's what he kind of is.
Good one.
Well, no, and so and when they go, I appreciate it. I'll take a look, my man. I know, dude. What's wrong with your brain? I don't know. I'm trying to remember the other guy's name too, the one who tells him. But he goes, when Homelander goes, "What did you do?" He goes, "Scorched earth," because he has an accent, And I was like, "Damn, that's a badass scene." Yeah. So that's where I get it from. So sorry, my brain sucks. I'm burnt out. I'm tired. It's been a crazy few weeks between the storms, the flu. Butcher, thank you. Butcher says that to Homelander. My daughter, it's just been a crazy couple of weeks. So, but yeah, and in the draft, and then WrestleMania is this weekend. So I'm on Friday, today, tomorrow, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday, and then
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we got the draft, and of course, how I am for that. So just pushing it out, man, pushing it out, just keeping it going. But so yeah, he needs to sleep. What sleep? But anyway, Alex, any final thoughts before we wrap this one up?
I'm just excited for tomorrow. I'm going to be able, hopefully, cross my fingers, to see the Heat game from beginning to end, and I'm just excited to prep for our draft show. I'm genuinely excited to see what pre-draft rumors come out of possible trades. It's one of those. It's funny because you always think about a draft like, it's going to be crazy trades, and no one trades, and then the draft day you think that it's going to be calm. There's always mayhem, 4 people trading up, 5 teams coming in here and out. So it's just an exciting time. There's this time of year where baseball's already started again. Now the Panthers are in the playoffs. The Heat are scratching there. Canes basketball, by the way. Jay Lucas is making home run transfers. We got Dante Allen to commit to UM2, which is Malik Allen's son. He went here to Riviera, Montverde. Great talent. So there's a lot of things to be excited about this time of year. And obviously, it's Good Friday tomorrow. It's a good family time and a good chill moment. In sports wise.
Sports family time. Of course, Easter's coming around. Is around the corner. He is risen. Amen. But the Easter Bunny's going to come in, wake up, you see some eggs around in the backyard. Oh, how did that happen? You know, it's so cool to see the Easter Bunny. Hopefully he doesn't lay any little little pebbles. Hopefully it's just eggs and not little shits, you know, and, but, no, it's just an awesome week and the importance of sleeping. What's that? You know, and of course, just producing and all that, and then working and then family and everything else.
Give him a pep talk about the important. Well, sleeping is the number one thing to reset everything. Weight, mental health, everything. You should be sleeping at least 7 to 9 hours a day, Bob. And coming from a guy that I sleep maybe like 5 or 6.
I sleep 5 or 6 hours. That's what I do. But you know what, though? I'll be honest with you.
But are you resting? That's the thing.
Sometimes yes, sometimes look. Don't be a hypocrite. Look, there you go. Your wife's
telling her,
yeah.
Honest.
No, that's true. No, but again, it's just life, dude. You don't have time to yourself. So finally, when you do, you want to relax, watch something or whatever. That's what you got to, and at the same time. But I'll tell you what, that I'm really good at. I could, if I need to, I could do a power nap. I could do a 10-minute power nap, and then what's good to do, like if you ever get tired, or if you let's say but you drive around and shit, but if you're ever working at the thing, if you get like you're like, oh my god, just walking. Go take a walk. Go outside. Get some air. That's what I do.
And breathing exercise.
Go
that
walk.
Helps you out. Yeah.
For sure. But I've had it where like, man, if I'm like for whatever reason, like I had a long night and I'm working and I start to like kind of like I'm like, God, dude, like I start to realize I'm not thinking right or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I'll go downstairs. Of course, then all of a sudden Tati calls me. All of a sudden she has a sensor. Where are you? Are you in the car? I'm like, dude, what do you want? No. But it's like it's a sensor. It always happens. But like, no, I could do like I always put my alarm. I get nervous. I'm like, oh, you never want. But like, 10 minutes. I'm good. Let's go. I'm good for the rest of the day till tonight.
And that is a proven scientific fact. You cannot sleep more than 10 minutes. If you go into the 20 minutes, 30-minute mark, you're exhausted. You did nothing.
No,
it's just like
because you want to stay sleeping because you want to stay.
Of course.
But like I've done it where like I'll put my alarm and I'll put like okay 20 minutes. You know what I mean? I'll put there just in case it takes me a little bit. But you like also like I'll just do it and also I open my eyes like and I look. It's like oh damn. It's already like 12 minutes.
I'm good. I'm good.
Grab, turn the car off, and I'll go walk around the building once, and then I'm good for the rest of the day. But,
and I'm proud of myself. Yesterday, I actually went to sleep. Yesterday, I got a full 7.5 hours of sleep. So, and I woke up refreshed because the problem is what kills me too is like I'll wake up late, but I've been waking up every day, 5:45, 6 o'clock to go to the gym, and I've done it. It's insane because now it's like. Man, you know me. And Jamila, you always used to have to wake me up. Now I'm just waking up on myself. Like legit. My alarm sounds once, or I think it sounds once. And I wake up right away and I'm ready to go.
You have to get yourself right out of bed.
And
Tati struggles waking up. I don't. I like if I can sleep in, like I will, but usually I don't. I'll get up and and I'll just to start the day because I hate like Todd will say, why'd you let me sleep this long? It's like, well, really, you didn't want to. Like, you kept tossing. I'll wake up. Hey, honey, So it's like turn over. It's like, okay, but like if she can, she will sleep in. She it's hard for her to get up. For me, I have to. Like, as soon as I hear that alarm, or even before my Audrey usually wakes me up in the morning. She'll come in the room before she leaves for school, gives me a kiss, and then also I'm awake, and so I'll say the time. I go, oh, I got like 20 minutes left. I can try to, and you want to take. Also, like you close your eyes, and also you're up again. It's like a minute later, but really 20 minutes later. So I just jump up, go in the bathroom. Splash somewhere or jump in the shower, let that and I'm up and I'm ready to go get my coffee, and I'm like, all right, Tyler, it's like, okay, she's still knocked out. I'm bad. Tristan's too. Yeah, Tristan. But it's funny. Like Audrey's great. Audrey goes to bed early. She wakes up early, even when she doesn't have school. She's up. Like that's one thing I love now. Is like when I get up in the morning, she's up a little before me. Sometimes she'll get up 2 hours before me. She gets up at 6. Because she's just used to waking up. Yeah, she'll get up and she'll start watching TV. I ask her, I go, did you give the dog the pill? Yes. Did you get the dog food? Did you let the dog? Yes. All right, feed the dog. Okay. But like, I'll get my coffee. Like, let's say it's 8 or something, like 8:30, whatever. I get up, like, I'll go out there. I'll knock on her door. She opens it. She's watching whatever she's watching. And so we'll go outside and just sit on the patio and just start talking about school, life, friends.
That's cool.
Stupid things like that. Not stupid, you know what I mean? Because we'll get into boys. I went to lunch the other day.
Reword that.
I'm not rewording anything. I don't care. No, but the other day, I surprised her at school because I had asked her before. I said, hey, what time's lunch at your school? Because, whatever. I usually go to Tristan's school for lunch sometimes. And she said, oh, it's this time. I think it's like 11:40 now. I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, why? You going to come? I go, no, I wasn't thinking. I just wanted to know. And I was like, why? Would you want me to? She said, yeah. I go, you sure? I was like, I'm a little surprised because she's older now. You know, like I thought you'd be
Yeah.
like embarrassed. She's like, no, my friends think you're funny and da da da. I'm like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that, but I was like, cool. So one day I did that, you know, and I went to her school. I didn't tell her I was going, and I was just standing in the cafeteria, and I saw her walking, and she was saying hi to her friends, and her friend was walking with her. And anyway, we sit down after she saw me, Papa, you know, and she runs up, gives me a hug, and her friend, oh hi, Mr. Bobby, you know, and they go, so they go in, and I sit down at the table. Anyway,
does he talk? Does he talk like that? Like, hey, Mr. Bobby.
well, there's a he. There's not that yet. This I'm talking about one of the what's the girl's name? They all have the same name except Maddie or
They all
Hattie.
have the same name.
Well, there's Hattie, Maddie, Sadie, Tatty. You know, I don't know. They're all the same. You know, like Audrey gets mad at me, but I'm like, Jesus,
Addie,
the parents got bored.
The Addies.
But anyway, it was the Hattie she's a sweetheart, but it's funny. I know. And Tati was Hattie. But anyway, so I'm sitting there and the girls sit down and they're telling me about their day and they're, oh, and you know, so-and-so and so did this and did it, you know, they're like, oh my goodness. And I'm like, oh, and all of a sudden, like, you know, I see one girl comes up and gives Audrey a hug. Goes, I love your daughter. I'm like, oh yeah, me too. You know, and so and all of a sudden, like these boys come over and they sit like right here, you know, over in this side of the house. And I look over and no, I'm talking to Audrey. I'm so like I'm not paying attention. It does not like I'm not paying attention to it, but all of a sudden, hi Audrey, and I look over and it's this blonde, blue-eyed boy, you know, he goes, hi Audrey, and I look at Audrey, and Audrey goes, hi, and I look, and I also like I look at Audrey just like this. I look like I'm looking at you, and I go like that, and I go. She goes, oh, that's Louie, and I go, and I just joke around. And I go. She goes, no, Papa, and Hattie starts laughing, you know. So anyway, well, you know, a couple days later, she, you know, I started joking. She goes, no, Dad, it's not like that. No, he's just my friend. I go, yeah, right. You know, I'm just playing with her, picking on her. A few days later, you know, she comes to me and she goes, so I got to tell you what happened at school today, you know. And she told me, not her mom, which was kind of cool. I'm like, yeah, I'm part of the group. What's up? You know, but
I'm cool. I'm young. I'm hip.
What's up, dog?
On God.
But it was so funny because, you know, I didn't react to it at first. You know, she just said, so like, and you remember that boy you saw at school? So yeah, she goes, Louis. So he got sick and he started throwing up, and I'm like, oh man, I go, that sucks. Well, did you stay away? Because you know, hopefully they didn't have a bug. She's like, no, I stayed away, but you want to know what my friend said? I go, what? And she's like, you're like, Audrey, are you gonna go help Louis? Don't you like him? And she started getting, no, and her cheeks got all flushed, right, and everything. I'm like, oh, they did that for real? She's like, yeah. I go, oh, that sucks. She goes, yeah, and I go, I stay quiet. I'm in the kisses in the kitchen. I don't know if you remember how my grandpa Mike stands, you know, or you know, he stands at the table and he just has like his arms there, and you know, I like one arm, and I'm just looking at her. I'm doing my grandpa stance, you know, and I'm just looking at her, and I go, I knew it. And she goes, what? I go, I knew it. I go, I told you, man. I knew it. No. I go, I knew something was going on with that blonde, blue-eyed boy, man. You know, he's staring at you. I'm
gonna kill him.
I'm gonna kill that boy. So I've just been torturing her about it, you know. What's up, NBA fan? Thank you for watching, my man. Appreciate you. We're in the family talk portion of this.
What is a dad to do if not make fun of their kids and humiliate them? It's
you know, I tell, you know, Tati checks me sometimes because she's like, oh, you know, hey, you know, don't do this. Don't, you know, don't joke like just. But at the same time, first of all, I have told my kids, I've told Audrey, it was because she's older, but I've said before, you know, making jokes, you know, but if you ever feel like I said, which I don't try to, but if I feel like, you know, tell me, you know, and we know. But I tell my wife, hey, look, guess what? Kids are going to say a lot worse stuff when she gets to school. Sure. I'm preparing her because one day when the kid says, you're stupid, because that's my thing about her. Like, I'll go, hey, like, you know, you say it too fast. Hey, what's 22 plus 22? And you're like, oh, you're like, why are you thinking that long? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're like, we were watching Wicked the other day, and I forgot what was said. Half of something. It was like, hey, what's half of this? My wife Tati asked her, and Audrey said, I forgot what it is, but it was like just the totally wrong thing. Yeah. And Tati went, what? And I'm sitting there and I go, I knew it. I knew it. You 2 plus 2 is 18. Man, you're gonna have to live in our attic, dude. I go, yeah, dang it. You know, I knew you were dumb. Papa, you know, we're like laughing. We go, wait, watch this. Tristan. So Tristan comes in the room. What? You know, and then we go, like, just to cut it in, you go, what's half of 12, you know, or whatever he did. He goes, what did he say? First he said 7. He goes, 7? And I go, no, what's half of 14? He goes, oh, that's 7. I go, all right, well, what's half of 12? 6. And we all look at Audrey, goes, bro, stop! I'm like, come on, dude, what are you doing? So it's just for fun. But she has, he's like, dude, I knew you were. Oh man, you have to live in our attic, dude. You know, it's just fun, dude. And
we got the dude today.
What's up, Martel in the house? Miami Heat Zone. Alex, we need to get on that show. I know he's asked us in the past, but we will.
Yeah,
Especially
whenever he wants. Whenever he wants, man.
we got to work it out. I had, like I said, I dealt with the flu. We got some stuff going on with the family, but we'll figure it out there. It's draft season right now. Probably after the draft, we'll get to that. So like everyone's saying, I am not on sleep right now, but I appreciate all that are tuning in. Heat have a play in tomorrow. Alex has it. Miami winning, advancing. He believes they could do it. It's just going to be a stretch against Cleveland, but it could be a test. But again, to me, it's a win-win situation for the Miami Heat. If they win, they're in. Great. Playoff basketball. If they lose, they're in the lottery. Great too, because now they got 2 first-round picks with a chance to get 2 quality players to help their team moving forward, or they could package those 2 picks and make a deal. So it's a win-win. I have no ants about it. I'm good with it. With the Dolphins, just wait and see, man. Just wait and see. We get closer to the draft. Alex, you brought up trades. I think this is the longest that a trade has not gone down in the first round yet. Usually there's a deal that has made prior to the draft. This is the longest it's not happened. Do I expect trades? Yeah, I do. I think as the draft falls, teams are going to try to move up and get at that. Yeah, Audrey's like Bobby when you put her on the spot, quiz or test it, they get dumb. Wow.
Yeah, it's stage. Yeah, it happens. It happens. You freeze up.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. It's more like her mom, but whatever. No, I'm just playing. Anyway, I don't know why you criticize. You are the same. I don't criticize her. I'm teaching her as she gets older how to get past that point. You know what I mean? Let me walk on eggshells. No, thank you.
Nah, here I'm walking on my omelet because I made those.
I'm making omelet tonight.
Fried eggs, baby.
Audrey loves fried eggs, so there you go.
I'm telling you, bro, they're the man. Come on, who doesn't like fried eggs, man? Cuban bread. Have you taught her to dip the Cuban bread? Or the Puerto Rican bread?
Why do you assume that why do we eat Puerto Rican bread? Why do you assume that?
Because your wife is Puerto Rican, your in-laws are Puerto Rican.
First of all,
I don't know. That's like me assuming you eat hot dogs because you're white.
Motherfucker, you don't have to assume anything. You know me. You don't have to assume. First off, we eat Cuban bread at this house. Public Cuban. It's not real Cuban bread to me.
Yes, yes.
I don't like it.
Do you remember how long it took me when I went up to Tennessee and I wanted to make the pan con bistec for you guys, the steak sandwiches, and I told Jamila, I'm like, dude, and that's when we decided. I'm like, if we put a bakery here, we can make a killing. I couldn't find Cuban bread.
If you guys ever do it, I know you've talked about it, but I'm just saying, if you guys ever do it, like if you go, Bobby, we're gonna make the move. Yeah, whatever. If you did it, we will 100%. I will go into business, open up a Cuban bakery restaurant here in Franklin. We'll do it because but legit, like Tati they love Cuban bread or the from Publix. To me, it's good. It's not bad. It's not bad, but it's not really Cuban bread.
It's not real Cuban bread. Yeah.
There's a store here back to Cuba, a restaurant that's amazing. We wanted to go today, but traffic was just so bad. But they have legitimate cookies. They go to Hialeah and they buy the bread and they drive back up. They buy the bread, they buy the ingredients. They do that. They do I don't know how many times a month they do that. Yeah, but that's what the wife told Tati that one time, which is crazy. But the food is great. I'm disgusted by runny eggs and Audrey too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Runny eggs are the worst.
I don't.
But wait. Runny the egg white or the yolk, because the runny yolk, when the egg white is cooked properly and the runny yolk, that is when you dip it with a Cuban bread and you that's
I will say again, that's something where we talked about that last week where I was like preferred meals, like I don't prefer it, but I could eat the runny yolk, like I could said dip it and eat it because you grew up on that. But I would prefer either scrambled eggs or fried, not fried, hard boiled, right? Hard boiled.
Yeah, hard boiled eggs. That
I could just
good too. Really,
yeah, absolutely, 100%. That with some avocado. Oh, come on, bro. Anyway,
that's crazy. I never thought I would hear it in the sentence. You finishing a sentence with avocado, bro? Like I never thought I would hear
dude,
that.
Avocado.
So impressed.
Legit,
I'm so impressed.
I know, dude. It's that woman right there, man. She makes me a better man. You think I'm getting brownie points? Think I'm getting
Beautiful.
something?
I got
Maybe.
you. Hopefully, man. Hopefully.
Gotta work out those glutes.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, there's a video of a guy, he has a big belly, you know, but he's like, he does this thing where when he gets the food, he starts going, you know, I can't do it right now because I can't remember.
Oh,
Like,
the little dance.
his belly, I laugh every time he does it. Hey, you know what though? I respect that. To me, I respect that. When you could go there and you feel comfortable in your own skin and you can laugh and feel happy and you're making joy around you, and because you know, you can easily go, oh man, look at me. Oh no, dude, that dude's living his best fucking life. Dude.
Yeah, man.
Like, good for him, man.
Yeah.
I think it's I laugh, but at the same time, I'm like, that's awesome, dude. Like, you laugh, you know, enjoy yourself.
You got to enjoy yourself, man. And you got to make fun of yourself. If you can't make fun of yourself, like, you're not gonna live a long life. That's the best
medicine, dude. That's the best medicine institute. She said element first because she was like, she knows this. She knows when I start going. She knows start moving that belly. You're like, oh,
that's right.
Working the glutes. No, I'm just playing. Eat salad seed with. Yes, that's what I do. Eat Caesar salad with avocado. That's legit. You know what I mean? It's gotta do what you gotta do. But anyway, yeah. So guys, what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Friday. I'll be on again for check down. They're with Dave Stager and Russ Morgan. We'll do another. They're gonna do their mock drafts and just talk about NFL news and stuff. What's going around the league. Saturday, Finns talk today in the morning at noon. Well, morning for me, noon for you guys. With Fish Tank Hank, we'll get his thoughts. Hopefully, maybe some clarity on that situation with Miami. And then again, WrestleMania's this weekend. WrestleMania now is 2 days, Alex. It's 2 days.
Jesus Christ, man.
You know, and there's 5 matches in each day. So usually Saturdays is when I do No Holds Barred. So we'll do a WrestleMania preview for night 1, and then we'll come on and do a recap and a preview for night 2. The Sunday, of course, we got the draft show on Sunday morning. But that'll be a good show. Josh Wingate is awesome. If you guys love wrestling, go check out our show. It's not work for me. It really is not. It is in a sense. It's like a second, but it's not. It's enjoyable. I enjoy doing it. Great support system. Tati's awesome, and she's a great person to bounce ideas off of. Or if she sees something, she's kind of, hey, you know, it's a whole team effort. You know, it is, again, still for, full-time dad, full-time employee, full-time this, full-time that, whatever, life, coaching, all this crap. It's just life. And not crap. It's not crap. I don't mean it like that. I'm just saying it's in the essence of it all.
It
consumes you, but it's okay. Because it's great and it builds awesome relationship. It's manageable. But
blink twice if you need help, Bobby. Blink twice if you need.
But dude, if I could blink 1,000 times, but it is what it is. I just hope that after this show we don't have any episodes like we did last time. I'm gonna fill in and on Alex on that after the show. Because last episode, as soon as we ended East Tension Boys the other night, the wife and I were right to the hospital. There's a big episode happened. I gotta get into Alex on that. Anyway, all is good. Appreciate you all for tuning in. Like and subscribe. If you're Dolphin fans, fins up. Heat culture, stand up. Your team's in the playoffs. Panthers are in the playoffs. They face the Tampa Bay Lightning and, of course, the Miami Marlins. I think they lost yesterday, but they've been surprising. Russ Morgan talked about that. So, hey, being a Miami sports fan is never boring. So, like and subscribe, and good night, Miami.
Peace.
Yo, Gringos in the house. Straight out of Hialeah, no doubt. East 10th Street, where we play out. Here we bring the Miami crowd. Alex, the boy with the D. Step into rhythm, feel the heat. Street vibes mix it with the